Should be live. Let's hope so. Get this out of the way. Just going to give everyone a minute or two to come in. Some of you are going to be in Zoom. Some of you are on Facebook. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I've made a huge mistake with my ability to do technology. I needed 3 USB ports for the mic, light, and drawing board, and I only have 2. And I obviously can't do it, well, like this. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Comment, let me know you can hear me, and then we'll get started in about a minute or so. Give me a thumbs up or I can hear you, see you okay. Make sure I know that everything's going. Let me just check we're recording so it isn't a waste. Excellent. Right, live on Facebook. Perfect. Now, hopefully, if you're in Facebook, I'm actually doing this on Zoom. I will try and keep an eye on comments or questions that come in, but we will have time at the end. So just this time at the end to do a bit of a Q&A. If you think I'm talking loud, then it's because I'm hoping that the mic's picking me up. All right, so today's training. Where this came from really was just seeing people making the same mistakes over and over again. Now, what I typically see with fitness experts is quite fluffy tips and tricks and, the usual stuff that, they will post about, what's the best food or, look at my protein pancake. And this kind of stuff is the most common, I guess. The problem is it doesn't really fix the underlying problems. Now, the underlying problems really are, there's normally 3 big problems that most men have. A lack of desire or lack of motivation, and this is even for me during lockdown. So if anybody watches this in the future, then it's good to look back at some of these trainings and be like, wow, remember there was a time when gyms weren't even open. Even for myself, it does even feel like an everyday battle to do my training, because quite frankly, I'm just going to brighten that up a little bit. Quite frankly, I just don't really want to do it. I must admit it has been better in the last few weeks since I've ordered more bands, brought some attachments, and bought some heavy dumbbells. But still, motivation to just do it can be difficult. And for some of you watching this in the future or now, just the motivation to start, the ability just to start. Some of you might lose motivation or desire, 3 weeks in. Now, some of that will be due to some of the other problems we're going to talk about. As with most things, it's not normally black and white. So that's number 1. Number 2, an inability to sustain it. So an inability to follow a nutrition plan or a fitness plan, commit to it long term. Now, it's all very well. You're going to have a few types of people. There's the people that, give up after a week or 2, never achieve their goals. Some of you stick out for longer. You might stick out for 3 to 6 months to get to a wedding or a holiday, which, you might be coming around to thinking about now because, we're starting to see maybe a bit of a light at the end of the COVID tunnel. But in general, it's it's statistically very, very, the chance of you losing weight and maintaining it permanently is very, very low. So that's something we have to fix, because I don't think there's many of you sitting here now watching this thinking, I'd like to look good or feel good for 6 months. It's normally like, I want to be around for my kids growing up. I want to be around for my grandkids. I want to have the energy to, carry on doing my business, and, I want to be around for my wife, whatever it is. These aren't short-term goals. These are to the day we die goals, right? And the third thing is, just slow progress or no progress at all. A lot of men hit plateaus. It happens. You get on the scale, you've done everything right, and then you look at the scale, you look at your measurements, you look in the mirror, and you think to yourself, why has nothing happened? Why am I the same weight? Why is my body not changing? Now, there's nothing probably worse in life than investing time and effort, especially into stuff that is not maybe something you naturally enjoy, and then getting nothing from it. You look at it and think, why the fuck am I bothering doing it? So that's what we're going to go through today, and we're going to talk about those 3 steps. Now, this is what I'm going to do, is share the screen quickly. This is where technology will probably fuck me over. Right, perfect. What I think most people do is, that is not what I wanted. If we take a very crude kind of hierarchy, I'm not going to fill the middling because this is just a crude example. If that base is the most important thing for your body transformation, if you want to look better, fit into your clothes, have a better sex life, make more money, live longer for your kids, do stuff that needs energy, mobility, and strength, then the most important things are really the principles. The problem is with principles is they're not very sexy. Sometimes I feel like, the marketing I do or the messaging I put out there is not very sexy because this stuff is kind of boring. Now the problem is at the top here, you've got I can't really fit it in, but what you've got here is tips, tricks. And this is where most people want to kind of focus on, most men. And that's the case because if I let you ring me up on the phone, and I said you can have half an hour of my time to ask me questions, the kind of questions I'll get is, what's the best exercise for this? Or, should I eat in the morning? Can I eat bread at night? These are details which, quite frankly, don't really matter. So what I want to do on this training is highlight some of these principles to ensure that you have better desire. Like I said, you have an ability to be consistent, and I'm not talking about 3 to 12 weeks like some magical body transformation, or you've seen like these people that do even stuff like the Biggest Loser, where they lose a load of weight and it all comes back. I want long-term changes. I want lifestyle changes. And then, just avoiding what I call the dreaded plateau, or, just avoiding slow results, because a lot of guys I talk to, maybe get some results, but it's so fucking slow, they just get sick of it. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's do that. Problem number 1. Get this out of the way. With regards to diet, this is what you need. You need to create a clear, valuable why. Now, it does pain me to talk about this because it is a little bit boring. If you'd said to me, years ago, like, you're going to be talking about things like why, and because this kind of thing has become a bit cliche, or maybe that's because a lot of my social media is business or fitness and people are talking about it more. Maybe that's just part of the echo chamber I'm in, but it feels like a lot of people are talking about it, but I don't often see a lot of other fitness professionals talking about it, but it's important. Now, the reason why you need a valuable why is because when you have a good why, you don't need to be motivated. Now, let's take a really crude example. I always use the crude example is kind of the idea of work. Many people, and this may be you in the past, but a lot of us have done things with regards to employment that we hated. And there's a reason why we did that. There was a time when I was working in the day and I was driving a fruit and veg van at night. So I was, I think I put up with about 3 hours of sleep for about 3 months. Why did I put up with it? Well, because I had bills to pay, and if I didn't pay the bills, I ended up on the street. So the why there was pay bills, buy food, have shelter. It's a bit of a crude example, but it just goes to show that you can do things that you dislike when you have a reason to do it. Now, exercise and dieting shouldn't be that difficult, but a lot of you feel like it is. So creating the why really is what we want is this. It's like, essentially it's about decision making. And what we've got here is the decision that is going to improve our fitness and our body, is it more important than, I don't know, junk food or booze? What's more important? Now, this is a skill that takes time to learn. The difference between you being a different man in all walks of life, but especially with regards to body transformation and fitness, really is just dependent on the choices you make. And the problem is, and I remember researching it for my book and for a webinar. I can't remember the exact number now, but we are literally faced with hundreds, I think it was even thousands of choices that are kind of food and behavior specific every single day. When the alarm goes off, do you get up and do your morning run or your walk, or do you stay in bed and have a lie-in? When you get home at night and you've had a really long day and you're hungry, you're a bit stressed, do you you can't be bothered to cook, do you order a takeaway, or do you cook a meal as planned? And these are the choices that if you don't get them right, 80, 90% of the time, you're never going to move forward, achieve your goals, because you're never going to have a genuine reason to make the hard choices. And that's what it is. And the problem is, as with most things in life, the choices that you make to get in shape are the hard ones. They're not easy. A good example would be a client a few years ago was he had a bit of a bad back. His walking was a problem, and he came into my Pilates class. I'm going to keep this story very short. Fast forward 3 or 4 years, he fixed his back. We got him strong. He was 53, I think, when we stopped working together. And that was when him and his partner went they went traveling. They went backpacking around the world. They did 6 months of skiing. One of the things getting stronger helped him do was ski better and not take as many days off. And then after they did the 6 months of skiing, they went backpacking around the world in their 50s. Now, that was one of his, big whys. I want to be able to go backpacking with my partner. I remember seeing on Facebook stuff like, we've just climbed the Himalayas and we've done this, and they were, taking pictures of thousands of feet up. That bloke, that client that I had, would never have been able to do that when I met him. So, does he want to do the exercises to fix his back, or does he want to go on his life-changing experience the world? Obviously, that's the more important thing. Most people don't do this. I would write it down. I would do the 5 whys exercise. Why do I want to achieve my body? Then ask why. Peel back the layers. It might be uncomfortable. I've quite literally had men on the phone tell me that their wives are going to leave them because they are not necessarily. Some have said their wives are going to leave them because they've got fat. Which is straight up what they've said. Some is more subtle. More is it's not so much that I've got fat, but I've become lazy, I've become lethargic, I've become grumpy, basically I'm not being a good husband or a dad, and it's affecting my relationship. These things are important problems to fix. Losing weight doesn't seem like a big problem, and a lot of the time we can put it, can basically bury our head in the sand and make it, you can justify it. I'm too busy, I'll do it another time, so-and-so is worse. So that is the first thing you need to do. Create a powerful why to give you that, that way of making the right choices. Number 2 is avoid the all or nothing trap. I see this a lot. So what we've got is, if we take a spectrum of here, and this is where this is somebody who's, fat, lazy. That person there doesn't give a shit. They don't care. They don't give 2-second thoughts. They're drinking, they're eating badly, they don't exercise. This end is, bodybuilder, pro athlete. This is really easy to do. Apart from unless you hate yourself, but it's quite easy to. I would more than happily eat junk food all day and not exercise as much, because I do enjoy the exercise part, if I could get away with not dying and being fat. This is really hard. As someone who has done the bodybuilder thing, that was 6 months of my life, which can only be described as hell, but it was worth it because I had the why. Would I do it long term? No, it wouldn't. I quite literally couldn't do it. Now, the problem is, a lot of people go from here and then they try to go straight to here, doing things which are excessive, training 6 days a week, 7 days a week. Used to see people doing 3 or 4 fitness classes in a day, cutting out all junk food. A good example was, dry January. That people that cut out alcohol in January then just went back as soon as it was February the 1st, is ridiculous. But, that's a good example of people kind of making extreme choices, which, let's be honest, you shouldn't have to make extreme choices. You shouldn't have to cut out foods out of your diet. You shouldn't have to exercise in a way that's, torturous. You shouldn't hate it. And that's just the way it should be. But that is pretty much what happens. And I don't blame you if you do that. It's just when you're here, when the straw breaks the camel's back at this point, it's very common to be quite motivated and quite up for it. Fuck it, I'm going to cut out everything. I'm sick of this. Clothes don't fit. Wife's nagging at me for being unhealthy, all that shit. I'm too lazy. I'm not playing with the kids. I need to be better. And you go here. Problem is, this is, as I said, restrictive, torturous, and you hate it basically. And that's a good example of being on fad diets. choosing exercises that you dislike. You know, we've all heard, I've heard it plenty of times of people choosing to do marathons because they think that um, running is the answer. Even if the running is the answer, they also sometimes they like the fact they have the date to do it, but often they don't like it. And often running is a bad choice for someone who's overweight with poor posture and poor strength. What happens though is here is you go from one extreme here, you fail, and then you go back to here. Several months go by, I don't know, you end up in the doctors with diabetes, you have a heart scare, wife leaves you, whatever it is, something happens, you see yourself on a photograph, you can't get into a suit, you're embarrassed about how you look when you go to a business meeting, and then you go back to here. Find it's too extreme, you may choose different things, but the principle is you choose things that you dislike or extreme, fail. And this is just this all or nothing trap. It's just a vicious circle. When really, the answer is quite obviously somewhere in the middle. Where it is, I don't know. What we're looking for is a place where it's sustainable. It has to still follow the principles of muscle building and fat loss, but in most cases, it doesn't have to be in this it really doesn't have to be in these danger zones here. So this is kind of like too extreme. This is too relaxed. This in the middle here is where you win. Now, what that looks like is very different for everyone. That could be the ketogenic diet. So, if I had 100 people watching this, a small percentage of you would love the ketogenic diet. Probably a small percentage, but there would be most of you that would be like, no way, I don't want to do a high-fat, low-carb diet. I mean, I like bread, I like pasta. There'll be a small percentage of you. I've got a guy who follows a lot of my content. He's doing a challenge where he runs every day. He'll probably watch this at some point, and that for him, he's loving it. He's losing weight. He's getting fit. Would I do it? Fuck no, because I hate running. Would you do it? You may do it a few days a week, but do you want to run every day? Probably not. The point is, the key to this being in the middle here is finding the balance, and that is very, very crucial for being able to sustain this long term. That's basically where we have what people refer to as a healthy lifestyle. Healthy from the choices you make, but also healthy from a kind of a relationship with food, alcohol, and exercise. You don't hate it, you may not necessarily love it, but you've got a good balance and you get it done. So that's at number 2. So far we've got have the why, avoid the all or nothing trap. Number 3 is possibly the most important. I might have to change this actually. So if you're a business owner, which a lot of my network is, you can treat your body like a business. For those who aren't business owners, it's okay. You'll understand it still anyway. Business, or maybe like a job. Now, what I mean by that is most people, they don't have a process to follow. That doesn't make any sense, but don't have a process. What that really means is you're kind of winging it. This kind of looks quite, what you'll get with people that have this, or men that have this, is quite broad. If you ask someone, so it's all very well, they've set their goals, they've set their why, they understand that they need a bit of balance, they know they don't need to cut out all the food, and they don't have to do certain exercises. They've got all this in place. And then it's like, okay, how are you going to do this? And then they'll say something like, well, I'm just going to join the gym. And this is the classic kind of, eat less, move more. I get it all the time on my post. If it was that easy, I probably wouldn't be doing this training right now, because there'd be no one who's obese, no one who's overweight. Yes, that does help. But the problem is, if you don't have a strategy or a process to follow, it's very hard to adjust things when there's a problem. So going back to the business analogy, it would be like, running a marketing campaign, and then not actually tracking the metrics. So then when at the end, when you finish it, you can't analyze it. So it'd be like just, imagine I did my Facebook ads like this. I just put £1,000 into Facebook ads. And at the end, I was like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know, I got a client or two. That's not how it works. I have a spreadsheet, which when I know all the numbers from the point where someone clicks the ad right through to the point where someone becomes a client, I know what the numbers need to be to make it profitable. And if the numbers don't work out, I can go into the spreadsheet, I can look at it and go, okay, that's the weak link, that's the problem in the funnel. I can change it. The same can be said for a body transformation. And that's what, you may have experienced this, where results are either going really slow or they slow down until just a grinding halt. And then you spend 3 or 4 weeks going, fuck, like, why is it like, I'm eating well, I'm exercising. Problem is that the body adapts. So what you need is a proper process. And it's really quite simple, but this is how it would look. This is what I've been doing with clients for the best part of 20 years. It's just I've refined it over and over. I've refined it more and more. What we need is a base plan. That can't just be eat better, move more. It can be if somebody's super overweight, because they'll lose weight, of course. Like, so that if you make any changes to your activity and your food intake, fine, you will lose some weight. But sometimes when it slows down or it plateaus, you don't have the control because you don't know where the problem is. So the base plan can't just be cut out junk food and move more. It needs to be more detailed than that. Not hugely detailed. So that might be calories per day. It might be daily step count. It might be total minutes of cardio per week. The good thing about that is it allows you to have what I refer to as process goals. Every single day you can look at it. It's almost like you wake up on a Monday and go, did I hit the calories? Yes. Did I do my step count? No. Did I do my half an hour on the treadmill? Fuck no. I need to go and do it, or I make it up. That is what we have with. Can I move this out of the way? Can. That's what we have when we talk about process goals, or basically the base plan. That is the plan that you start with. Now, you could give 100 men, you could give 1,000 men that same plan. Some would lose weight, some wouldn't, some would even gain weight. What matters then from here is what you do with the information. So if we go here, you followed the base plan. Let's say it's 7 to 10 days. It takes you a few days to get kind of into it. 7 days pass, 7 to 10 days pass, and then you assess it, or you assess results. What does that mean? Well, okay, it depends what your goals are really, but from a body transformation point of view, that's going to be, is my weight down? Are my measurements down? And from a muscle building point of view, you really want strength to go up. So that's what's happened. You've got this base plan, you follow it, you tick the boxes every day, done this, feeling great, assess results, brilliant. Lost 2 pounds, measurements are down, strength is up, I'm not too hungry. There are other things in there that I would personally assess, but just to keep it simple, there are going to be like other, what we refer to as biofeedback, other things that the body is going to tell you, sleep, stress, hunger, that kind of thing, appetite. But, just in terms of just to keep it simple, weight, measurements and strength, good indicators. So you get there, great. All those are positive. So you just carry on. You don't break what isn't, you don't fix what isn't broken. The amount of times my clients message me and say, I had a great week, I achieved this, this, and this. What do you want me to change? And I'm like, fuck, don't change anything, because, there's only so low you can go with calories. There's only so many minutes in the day for steps and cardio, and there's only so much training you can recover from. So you need to milk that, this base plan, or whatever it is at the time, you need to get the most out of it. If that's 6 weeks, I've had clients go I've had clients go 10 to 12 weeks with not a single change. That's what we want. Assess results. Now, if you get a slow week or a stall, that isn't if really, that is when. So here, no results, no progress. This is where you get pissed off. If you didn't have these here, you'd be screwed. You'd be like, what do I change? Body's adapted. It's got used to what I'm doing. What do I change? Now, if you were kind of maybe doing portion sizes or doing it off the top of your head, you might make some changes, but I find most people will do it wrong and they overdo it. So you get to this point where no results, no progress. And you're pissed off, right? You've had a week, but it's only 1 week. Let's see what happens in the next week. Another week goes by. What happens? No progress. Get even more pissed off. What happens if this goes on for 3+ weeks? You know what happens. I've talked about it a million times, but you say, fuck it. I'm not going to do it anymore. Why bother? Why waste my time? Now, if you have the process in place where what we've been talking about, the next step is simple. It's just adjust. Adjust the base plan. Can you do more steps? Can you do more cardio? Can you eat fewer calories? What do you need to do? What are you going to do out of all those things? I don't know, because it's going to be very, very much person dependent. I've had clients in the past who, my client John really likes cycling. He lives in a quite rural part of Ireland. He genuinely likes cycling. So he was going out 6-7 days a week for like an hour. That was fine. We just did that. He didn't have to reduce the calories so much. You might have someone who's super busy and they barely get their step count in. They can find the time, but time is still limited, and that's going to be a case for a lot of you. There's only so much free time you can find before people get pissed off if you've always been in the gym or outside or training. So you might change the calories. The point is, when you have this process, it brings in a certain amount of predictability, and I say a certain amount of predictability because it's not always predictable. The body's like that. That's why most people's weight progress is all over the place. But that's normal. What it does, though, is it gives you the power and the confidence to look at it in a way that is not emotional. What I mean by that is, if you're always thinking about emotions and you're always emotional, you're always going to feel like things make you feel guilty, frustrated, sad, whatever. Like when things don't go your way, that's how you feel. What you really want is just logic. You just want to see it as X, Y equals Z, and that was no progress. Okay, at the very worst, you're going to waste a week, and then all you're going to do is say, fuck it, I had a bit of a shit week. Sometimes you'll see it before that. You'll know it. Like with how long I've been doing it and with the skip loading and adding in the refeeds, I see the patterns a little bit more because I've been doing it for so long that sometimes I'll make changes midweek. Very rarely, but I can still do it. But, still, you've got the power to do this. What you don't want is all this, this frustration, this guilt, this sadness, and basically a lack of control. Fix these 3 things and you can fill the details in. So when you get, your favorite fucking Instagram trainer to give you like a certain exercise for like this part of the chest, or, a certain recipe for a protein pancake, those things are fine. But if you don't have the why to make good decisions and you keep making bad decisions, you're going to stay fat. If you make the process too unsustainable, too torturous, too restrictive, you're never going to do it for enough time to A, achieve your goals, and B, stay there. Let's be honest, if you've got 50 to 100 pounds to lose, then that's going to take, it took my client Simon 2.5 pounds a week, just over a year to do 105 pounds. Well, he's lost 105 pounds now for his 40th birthday, but he might not die till he's 80. So he's got 40 years to somehow maintain a fit lifestyle. If he'd done it, he would never have done it. But let's say hypothetically he did that 100 pounds in this zone here. The chances of him sustaining it for a long time would be impossible. I did have a client once who lost 4 or 5 stone doing a diet he hated. There was 2 days of fasting where he was only allowed water or black coffee. He was so faint on those days he couldn't drive. Basically, he hated it, but somehow he stuck it out for 2 years. Still, when he came to me, his point was 2 years is a long time, and I'm not going to do it forever. And then 3, treat your body like a business or like a job. Just use the data to take away the emotion, use the bit of logic, and to give you back control. Have a plan which gives you the daily goals that you need to hit. Assess the results. Again, take the emotion out of it. Don't just weigh yourself. Do measurements, photographs, weight, test strength. Then, if you don't get results, and sometimes I might leave it another couple of days, but if you don't see progress, don't get pissed off. Just make adjustments to the plan. It's very, very simple. Again, if you don't have this base plan here, this here, when you then just, this is what happens. No base plan. You weigh yourself, no progress. Well, what can you adjust? You have no control. I'll go back to my example of my marketing, the spreadsheet. I can look at the spreadsheet. I know the numbers I need. I can pick out what's not working, or sometimes I can just leave it and go, right, that is working really well. If I try to optimize it too much, I might fuck it up. Leave it. It's bringing in, calls and bookings, that kind of thing quite well. It's making a return. Same with a diet plan. Set it up, assess it. If it's giving you a return, don't get greedy. Just let it ride out and then change it if you need to. Now, hopefully that is important. Again, going back to how I started to finish up, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to principles. I'm trying to show more men ways to do it for the long term. Ways to make it more enjoyable, ways to ensure that you don't just lose 5 to 10 pounds, gain it back, flip flop between your small wardrobe and your large wardrobe, or, your good clothes keep collecting dust. I want you to, have the desire to do it. And obviously, and just a final point, once you start to see results, your ability to have the desire and the motivation, or the discipline to do stuff does become easier, because you're starting to see the results and it's worth it. That concludes that training for today. If anybody has any questions, I will answer them. Have a look. I have to go into Facebook on my phone. I'm scared to press anything because it might fuck up the feedback. No. Right. You know where I am if you have any questions. For those who would like some help losing the first 25 pounds in the next 90 days, if you'd like me to not only walk you through these 3 things, but actually plug in the details as well, so that you don't have to do the thinking, you can have some accountability, someone there to kind of support you through it over the next 12 weeks, so that you can lose, on average, most people losing 20, 25 pounds, and have an understanding how to do all of this for yourself after. So that is the key to this, is I want to show more of you how to do this for yourself long term, so that you don't have to, regain the weight and find another coach in 6 months to a year. Either send me a message with the word 25 pounds, comment if you're watching this live, comment, or if you watch it as a replay, comment in the post, or, a lot of you come from LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn, send me a message with the numbers 25 pounds, and we'll have a chat, see where you are now, see if you're, someone I can work with and how I can, and we'll go from there. Hope you've enjoyed this training. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will speak to you again very soon.